Good evening, everyone. Once again, my name is Christopher Thrasher, and I have been a member.
Mic's not working.
Get close and let's see.
How about this? All right then. Well, hello. Once again, my name is Christopher Thrasher, and I have been a libertarian since 2008. Interestingly enough, I came from a very different place than probably most of the people in this room. I actually came from the left. I served as the national campaign coordinator for a senator from Alaska by the name of Mike Gravel, who decided to change from a Democrat to a libertarian. And I said, okay, great. What exactly is a libertarian? Okay, sure, I'm in. Well, little did I know that I had found my political home until I got to the convention in Denver. I left that convention with a stack of books about yay high, and been here ever since. I must tell you, I am very impressed. First of all, I did want to say thank you very much to the Convention Oversight Committee. This is turning into an extremely successful convention. Once again, thank you for our host in New Orleans here. Just to tell you a little bit more about myself, I have served as senior staff in 4 libertarian presidential campaigns. This gives me a very unique perspective when it comes to the national party, having had most of my focus on national races and having the ability and the privilege to travel across the country meeting libertarians in all sorts of states. In 2016, I served as the ballot access director for the Gary Johnson ticket. I'm very, very proud of the efforts of all of the libertarians out there, libertarian activists, libertarian petition gatherers, donors. It was a colossal effort that ensured that every single American voter, for the first time in 2 decades, had the opportunity to vote for a libertarian candidate for president. I could not have done that alone, and to all of you who held up petition boards, who made calls, who organized, who stayed up until late hours the night before petition turn-ins, thank you, because I could not have done that job without you. So why am I here? Well, I'll tell you why I'm here. I'm here because, frankly, I think that we need to have a Libertarian Party chairperson that has a vision for a party that is growing. We need to stop talking about, well, let's see if we can pull off some Democrats. Oh, let's see if we can pull off some Republicans. Let's start talking about the largest single voting bloc in this country, and that is independent voters. They are the largest voting bloc. In addition, they are the fastest growing voter bloc. Consistently, when people are asked, should there be a third party, they say yes. There is a third party. That's us. We're well on our way to being a major party, but we have to do a better job of reaching out to independent voters, because that is the future. And the only way to change the paradigm of American politics is to elect leaders outside of the 2-party system. The Libertarian Party is the best and only way that will happen.
The chair position is unpaid. How will you fund your personal travels and accommodations to fulfill the expectations of a national party leader?
It's to you, Chris.
Is it? Okay. So, yeah, interesting question. Well, I'll tell you what. I have worked as a political consultant for many, many years. I have also worked as an entrepreneur. I do a significant amount of marketing for small businesses as well. I have no doubt I will be able to fulfill those obligations. I also have the ability and the freedom to travel on a near consistent basis. Interestingly enough, I'm actually sitting now with the Connecticut delegation at this convention. The convention before that, I was sitting with the California delegation. Convention before that, I was sitting with the New Jersey delegation. Convention before that, I was sitting with the delegation from my home state of North Carolina. So again, I have a unique national perspective and an ability to travel this nation, and as a chair, I would absolutely love the opportunity to talk about the Libertarian Party in my travels.
How would you, as chair, deal with a libertarian candidate who you feel harms the party or the cause of liberty?
Now, this is an interesting question because we're asking about candidates. The role of the national chair is certainly to keep a message of libertarianism on platform coming from the national office. However, I would have to defer to the state in which that candidate is running, because there are only so many things that national can do. It is up to the states to make a decision whether to repudiate or whether to perhaps make an effort to remove somebody from the ballot. That is up to the state parties. However, I do agree with the current chair in saying that it must come from the national party that, hey, this is not what we believe. If it gets particularly egregious, something has to be said. Unfortunately, I do feel like a situation with a certain vice chair, that didn't really come from the national party, and that was the place of the national party.
What efforts would you prioritize to get the LP ready for the 2020 campaign?
Thank you. So first and foremost, the question is what efforts to prioritize. While, of course, growing membership with an outreach to independent voters is huge and fundraising development is also huge, what I think is very important and something that we're not doing right now is focusing on a plan for ballot access. Most of my job in 2016 as a ballot access director for Gary Johnson's campaign, unfortunately consisted of going and putting out fires. We have the data. We know what we need to do in order to maintain ballot access and to get it in the states that we have to petition. The Ballot Access Committee, headed by Mr. Ken Molman, who actually, by the way, also put together this debate, so cheers to him for this. Now, on that Ballot Access Committee, we delivered a report about yay big to the National Committee, detailing every single aspect that we had to go through in order to achieve that 50-state ballot access. From that, a plan could have been developed that could be already in motion. Instead, we're already putting out fires right now.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the music. That was good. Nice touch. What work would you do to convince elected officials of other parties to switch to our party, assuming that they're aligned with our statement of principles?
While I applaud the efforts that have been undertaken over the past few years with trying to get sitting elected officials over to the Libertarian Party, frankly, that's not my priority. My priority is electing libertarians. Once again, I said this before, the only way to change the paradigm of electoral politics in this nation is to elect candidates outside of the two-party system. Those candidates need to be libertarians. We need to give our candidates and our activists the best possible tools and the best possible chance to actually get elected. So while, again, of course I would continue outreach to those who are out there and may share our principles in state legislators and whatnot, I am more interested in electing libertarians so that they do not immediately, once they switch, yeah, it's great when you get somebody who's about to retire and you get somebody who, now all of a sudden gets primaried. No, we need to give the tools to ensure that we elect libertarians, and that would be my priority as chair.
Is the danger of a takeover of the LP by left or right-wing collectivists real or imagined? How do you address the concern?
The concept of a takeover of the LP, I think, is slightly blown out of proportion. I would say, once again, we have a statement of principles. That statement of principles says what we're about. But again, we do a very poor job of letting the independent voters out there know that they're probably more aligned with us, certainly, than any of the other two parties. I think that the idea, again, of a takeover it doesn't make much sense to me. What's happening is that we're attracting all sorts of different people who realize that 99% of the time their gripe with the establishment is because government. I say again, I came from the left and I was very angry at the way things were. That's why I was a young leftist activist, if you will. It was only when I started looking at why things are the way they are that I realized, once again, it's because government. I knew I was a libertarian then. We just have to let people know they're libertarians.
How should the LP most effectively exploit the current disillusionment with the political status quo?
Thank you. Apologies, my answer is probably not going to invoke that drastic of a reaction, but the question is, how should we exploit the disillusionment with the current establishment? Well, again, I've got a boring answer for you. We have to do a better job of taking care of the business of the party. We have to do a better job of putting in place the systems that are necessary to give our candidates and our activists the best possible chance for success. We have to do things like develop clear and concise messaging. We have to use professional marketing. We need to stop the reliance on 80s and 90s tactics. We still do a whole lot of direct mail, and yes, it can be successful. However, we should be spending a whole lot more on online marketing than we are on direct mail. It is time that the Libertarian Party grows up, becomes a professional political party utilizing the tools of the 21st century in order to stoke this disillusionment, because it's there. They need to know that we're here.
The question is, what do the terms purism and pragmatism mean to you and to the Libertarian Party?
Here's the thing. I like to joke that I swung so far to the left I ended up on the right. But the reality is I just realized I was a libertarian. Liberals call me conservative and conservatives call me liberals. I think I'm liberal. I think I'm doing the right thing. But I'll tell you right now, I'm moved to mention somebody who is not here with us, because it is an individual who was very near and dear to my heart. He was a good man, and we are here honoring Dr. Feldman, one presidential candidate, former presidential candidate, but there's another former Libertarian presidential candidate, one who I think would be okay with being called a pragmatist, and his name was Lee Reitz. I considered Lee a friend, though I rarely agreed with him. And I think the thing that we had in common is the thing that all of us, I'm throwing my card so the music can stop here, just for the record. All right. We have to remember what we have in common, and what we have in common is a love of freedom, both for ourselves and for our fellow humans. That's what makes us libertarians. That's what unifies us in this room.
Does the internal culture of the party need to change? If so, what is the role of the chair in changing it?
The question of if culture needs to change, well, I'll tell you what, I've been coming to conventions since 2008. I see a lot of old friends, I see a lot of faces that I recognize, and I see a lot of faces that I don't. It's clear to me that we do have new people coming in every time. So if you ask, does it need to change? It already is, because, again, we're bringing new people in. We're letting people know that they are libertarians. They probably just didn't know it until somebody actually told them, hey, this is what we believe. And then we said, hey, here's another option besides the two-party system. That's what we have to focus on. Again, these questions, some of them I think are a little off the rails for what we really need to be talking about. We need to be talking about how we're going to grow the party, how we're actually going to put the systems in place in the inner workings of the party in order to give our activists and our candidates the best possible chance to win. It is about electing libertarians, and it is about enticing independent voters across this nation to remind them that they are in fact libertarians.
Should Tim Moen and his Libertarians form a government in Canada? Should the decision as to joining the Canadian Federation be left to the states?
Okay, well, you know, I'm going to respectfully shift, and I just got to tell you, although I appreciate the question, I'm not sure I'm the best qualified to answer that, because I'm sitting here, or standing here as it were, and I'm running for chair of the Libertarian National Party. I'm worried about getting libertarians elected. I'm worried about getting the things done that is necessary, once again, to elect libertarians. That's what we're here to talk about. That's what we're here to talk about. And respectfully, I will say that people should have the right to choose just about all their associations. That's what volunteerism is, and that is a principle of the Libertarian Party.
So each candidate will have 2 questions. They're going to ask them one at a time, do the first round of questions, and then we'll go to the next question and do another round. Each candidate has 1 question to ask another candidate.
Okay. My question is for Joshua, who often calls me a violent collectivist. He calls me a statist, which isn't true. Yet Joshua has sent me an email and a document that's threatening me with a lawsuit for $80,000 of losses for this volunteer position he's running in. And he's also threatening me with federal charges for blackmail after being endorsed by the guy who wrote the book called Legalized Blackmail. So Joshua, do you plan on continuing to threaten me with the state after this, or will it be over?
All right, 1 minute on the clock. Go ahead and answer, Joshua.
Let's just ask, what kind of candidate for an unpaid position would try to blackmail another candidate? How about we ask that question? That's the more important question. What are you scared of, Matt? Look, I sent a soft draft of a lawsuit over to this gentleman because he decided he was going to try and release my business's private chats. Business talk. If I didn't drop out of this race a week before this convention, there'd still be civil suits, even if we had a completely voluntary society. I was letting them know that that wasn't okay. That wasn't a good practice. That's not what we want in the Libertarian Party. You can be mad at me about it if you want. That's fine. I do it again. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's it. Yeah.
All right, we have a rebuttal card played by Matt. Go ahead, Matt, 30 seconds.
I understand Joshua's new at this, but when you run for office, you open yourself up to public scrutiny. And when you run as a libertarian, you're supposed to be running for an accountable and transparent government. So if you can't be transparent and accountable yourself, and if a whistleblower sends private chats full of homophobic speech and threats of overthrowing the Libertarian Party, that wouldn't be relevant if you weren't running for this chair. So welcome to politics.
We've had a rebuttal card played by Christopher, so Christopher, over to you.
What we are witnessing at this moment is exactly why I made the decision to run for chair. I have watched as this race has devolved into bitter name calling and getting so far from the subject at hand, which is once again, how do we elect libertarians? Enough of this. Let's get back to talking about how we do the business of the party and how we give our candidates and our activists the best possible chance for success. It is not through personal attacks. It is not from going back and forth up here on the stage, wasting everybody's time talking about personal bickering. Respectfully, gentlemen, let's get back to the task at hand. How are we going to elect libertarians?
Thank you, Christopher.
My question is to the esteemed chair, and I would preface this by saying, Mr. Sarwark, I have the utmost respect for you, I truly do. But my question to you, is there anything, say, at the 2016 National Convention, or in your second term as chair, that you would do differently, given the opportunity?
Anything at the...
Over to you, Nick. 1 minute.
There's a lot of things that I would do differently. I would have tried to bring on candidate support and recruitment staff earlier. We started too late, and that's why we're going to hit 1,000 candidates instead of 2,000. I would have tried to build up, have a full-time press secretary earlier. Part of the thing that is tough about being chair of the LNC is that you're not really in charge. You are really the least important person in the party. And so you can go exactly as fast as you, the delegates, and the other members of the LNC want to go. And so in the first term, we added an affiliate support specialist. In the second term, we added a press secretary, 2 development people, 2 candidate support and recruitment people, and we started having growth. But the idea that we could go faster than that, I don't think it's possible. I think we have to, let me take another 30 seconds. We have to work with what people can do. We've never failed a ballot access drive in the entire time that I've been chair, but we've walked away from a couple because there are some state parties that weren't ready to go along with us. We've recruited candidates, and some of them have been great, and some of them haven't. We've supported candidates, and some of them have been great, and some of them haven't. I have made mistakes as chair, and I will make more mistakes if you elect me again. Because the only way to not make mistakes is to not do anything. But I won't make the same mistakes.
Okay.
All right, we have a rebuttal there from Christopher. Go ahead, 30 seconds.
Mr. Chair, that was a good answer, but frankly, it wasn't the one I was hoping for. To be perfectly frank, I have almost no issue with anything that you have done as chair. I have a couple of issues with things you haven't done. I think there have been a couple of opportunities where a chair with an even hand could have made a statement rebutting a statement from, say, a rogue vice chair that cost the party dearly in terms of support.
Christopher, why is it that the first time anyone in this room heard about you running for chair, or the first time that we've seen you around the Libertarian Party in the last year or so, after loudly leaving, is tonight?
This is a fair question. A year ago, I was working very diligently to try and court a very large donor. I was wondering if I was going to share this story out loud, and I guess I am. That donor was absolutely appalled at the messaging coming from the national office when it came to a Facebook meme. We decided on, during the Christian Holy Week, to share a meme from the Church of Satan. Now, it's not about what that meme said, it's about the symbolism involved here. And I can tell you right now, that turned off somebody who would have put hundreds of thousands of dollars into a race. And you know what? I was a little upset about it because I was really hoping that perhaps the chair would say, okay, maybe we shouldn't have done this. And instead, he chose to really belittle those who made an issue with it. That's why. And in fact, might as well.
Okay, go ahead.
As we continue here.
Yeah, carry on, Christopher.
Once again, the reason I made the decision to come to this convention was actually, I've got to give credit to Larry Sharp. I saw an interview that Larry gave to Reason Television talking about his gubernatorial run, and one thing he mentioned very specifically was that the Libertarian Party, as flawed as it is our best chance to elect leaders outside of the two-party system. You know, I just got to do this. Matt, why are you here?
Fair question. It's okay. It's okay.
All right, over to Matt. You have 1 minute to answer the question.
So I explained earlier, Gary Johnson is what brought me into this party. But there's a long history before that. When I was a young teenager and an early adult, I was just a punk. I lived on the streets, I squatted in houses, I lived in the ghettos, and these are my people. And when I wanted to promote Gary Johnson to them, they didn't want to hear it. Ron Paul attracted me with his abolishment language and his anti-war, and I wanted to figure out a way to get across to the people who I identify with. I found the left libertarian ideals, and I connected with them myself. I identify with them myself, and I'm able to use that to promote the same platform, basically. I'm still in line with the platform of abolishing the government to its maximum. I want it all gone. So that's why I'm here. I feel like this is the party where if you want to abolish the whole state, this is where you do it.
All right, and we have another rebuttal card played by Joshua. Joshua, 30 seconds to rebut.
Since no one else on this stage is going to say it, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Rent and property are not theft. Thank you, guys.
Very much, Mr. Moderators. It's been entertaining, shall we say. So it has been said that freedom is a two-edged sword. On one edge, liberty, and the other, responsibility, and both edges are exceedingly sharp. The best steel is forged with an even flame. My answers have not popped. They haven't elicited items being thrown at the stage and whatnot. But what I do have to bring to the table is a track record of success. I know what it takes to actually get the nuts and bolts of electoral politics to be successful. I think we have a candidate here who is a good visionary and a great cheerleader, and I think we have a candidate here who is an excellent administrator and parliamentarian. I would like to put forth to you that I'm the best of both worlds. I am here because I know I can do this job. I wouldn't have thrown my hat in the ring at the last minute, and admittedly, it was the last minute. But the reason I did is because I just don't see the other candidates on this stage being able to do both. It is time that the Libertarian Party makes a change because we must grow from where we are. It's been said, of course, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. It is time for something new, and that new should be someone with the track record and ability to actually get things done. I've been going to LNC meetings since 2009. I have seen LNC boards come and go. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. I know the actual sausage making when it comes to those board meetings, okay? And I have the ability to espouse a libertarian principled message on the national stage. I've done it before with 4 different libertarian presidential campaigns. I'm asking for your vote for me, once again, to, see, I knew this thing would come in handy. I am asking for your vote, once again, to elect somebody to the position of Libertarian National Chair who is able to both get things done and be that cheerleader to ensure, once again, our candidates and our activists have the best possible chance to get libertarians elected. It is the only way to change the paradigm of politics in this country, and we must get down to the business of actually electing libertarians. Thank you very much.
Ask a Libertarian Facebook fan page is spreading awareness of libertarianism and informing non-libertarians while empowering those who support liberty on a daily basis. This is your opportunity to be empowered and let us advocate libertarianism for you at facebook.com/askalibertarian.